The Chicago Bears get their guy with the 25th pick in the first round of the 2026 NFL Draft. How does day 2 set up for the Monsters of the Midway? We'll give you our observations coming up. In baseball, the Chicago Cubs make it 9 in a row after sweeping the Philadelphia Phillies out of town. Do they have enough juice to take out the Dodgers in La La Land? On the south side, the Chicago White Sox make the 6-game road trip a success, going 4-2, beating Oakland, that's right, I said it, and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Can they continue the good vibes against the Washington Nationals back at home? In basketball, the NBA playoffs just got a little bit interesting, while the Stanley Cup playoffs have been on fire. That and the return of our girl, Miss Christine the Queen Manika, on the Friday Funk edition of Second City Sports, which starts now.
Hey.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Keep him on the field. And this one is dropped in the left center field. Going back is Churio at the wall. Get out! Robert Jr., his 4th of the season. And the Sox take the lead 2-1.
Into another one, sends Edman back. He's watching it land in the stands. What a night from Pete Crow Armstrong. Goes wide, up the guard again. And he scores. What a play!
On Jordan Bennington, no chance at all for the Blues netminders. Connor Bedard. Wow.
Getting what a pass. Buzelis with the fade on the drive.
They're blitzing. It's picked up. Caleb throws. Middle of the field. Loveland catch. Breaks away the 30. Loveland 20. Loveland 10. Loveland end zone. Touchdown Bears.
Welcome to the Friday edition of Second City Sports. You're locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone with Miss Lakeena McGee. Is she? I ain't Sidney Brown here. You know it's me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID.
You follow Lakeena McGee on the Twitter, X, again, IG.
Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, X, Instagram, and YouTube. And thank you very much in advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Ooh, boy. Thank goodness it's live, folks. Thank goodness it's live. And don't you ever forget you had to take this over, Lakeena. I'm getting a brain fart right now.
All right. Of course, we always have very definite opinions. And if you have definite opinions, about the show, the shows we're going to talk about the game, you can comment. Well, just be nice to us, folks, or we'll give you the Bill Laimbeer boot.
But before bye-bye, I'll take it from here. Before we begin, we must show our love to our live game. That's LIVE, live entertainment game. That's checking us out live in living color right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook, Chicago on YouTube at 12:20 p.m. Central Standard Time. But as always, much love to the replay game that's checking us out on the replay. Also at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook and YouTube channels. Don't you ever forget our motto: we talk sports, music, or entertainment. We will always provide.
We'll provide you with some of the best on Second City Sports. Of course, we'll give you updates on both the Stanley Cup playoffs as well as the NBA playoffs. The Cubs, I should say, go for 10 in a row, while the White Sox will try to continue their momentum after a successful road trip and the rest of the week in MLB. Our girl Christine Manika from KXRB, joins us to give her thoughts on some of the sports media news and other latest sports headlines, including the U.S. Naming a new Ryder Cup captain for next year's Ryder Cup. We'll talk about that with her and so much more. But first, Sid, of course, the NFL draft commenced last night in Pittsburgh. A big crowd in Pittsburgh. It broke all kinds of records. We'll talk about that in a second here. But The Bears select Dillon Thieneman from Oregon. That was, some of the mock drafts had him go into the Bears and such. A very versatile 3 year starter. He has size, he has versatility. He could play nickel, but he can also play man to man as well. Going to be facing some bigger and faster guys in the NFL, like he did back in the Big Ten when he was at Purdue. Of course, he went to Oregon. He transferred to Oregon for a couple of years. Was very productive there. And look, I'll look. We don't believe in grades or anything like that. So we're just going by what our synopsis. I know everyone else is going to give grades. We're not going to do that just yet because look, we haven't seen the guy play yet, but he is the first safety that the Bears have drafted since you got to go way back to 1990 when, of course, Mark Carrier, he ended up having a great career here. The first defensive guy that they picked in the first round says Roquan Smith. So, Sid, what do you think about the pick?
We brought Thieneman's name up during our last couple weeks of our shows, and we thought there was going to be a real possibility because safety was one of the many needs that this Bears team was the areas that this Bears team was looking forward to fill that position, and they also need pass rushers as well. We'll give you some names about that coming up as far as previewing night 2 of the draft, but. With Dillon Thieneman, I like the way this kid plays. As we talked about for the last couple of weeks, the Bears needed a safety. He fits what Dennis Allen needs on this defense. Be aggressive. As Brian Poles, the GM, talked about him in front of the media last night. Football, violent, aggressive. Getting after the football, playing sideline to sideline, making that correct tackle. And yes, we talked about this before we went on there about him being smart. Sometimes you can be overly aggressive and give up big plays. That's the risk that comes with this. But I like. Dillon's football instincts is a perfect combination between him and Kobe Bryant, who you signed from the World Champion Seattle Seahawks earlier this offseason free agency. Yes, it's going to take some time, but I think this is going to be a good pairing. I think Dillon could learn a lot from Kobe Bryant. Would have been better if Kevin Bryant would have stayed here, of course, but that's no longer the case. But I think in due time, I think Dillon Thieneman is going to be a good player for this Bears secondary.
Like I said, he has a great vertical jump. He has look. I watched him a lot when he was at Oregon. He does have a lot of speed. He is very smart, but he has been beaten a few times too, and because of his size, especially, he's going to be facing guys like your T.J. Hawkinsons, your Sam Laportas, your Zach Ertz. I mean, those are the kind of guys that they're a lot bigger and they're a lot faster. So you better hope that. And this is what I mean when I say this. You better hope that he's Cooper DeJean and not Chris Conte. Remember what happened there? So I'm thinking that this is definitely a Pulse pick if you go by the numbers and his RAS scores. And what I mean is, the rapid, this has been around for the last few years, but you've got all these, different, synopsis of, his speed, his broad jump and such. Of course, he had all that in the combine. So this definitely does have Poles' definitely has Poles' fingerprints on it. You better hope that Dennis Allen and Al Harris can develop him. So look, like I said, the grades thing. Look, I know I've seen some people give him an A or an A+. I'm gonna give it a B+ because look, you're feeling me, but let's see what this guy can do.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakeena here with you on this hashtag Friday Fun edition of the program. As we talk about the Bears selecting Dillon Thieneman with their 25th pick in the first round of last night's 2026 NFL Draft. Lakeena, remember Ryan Poles' mission statement was before this free agency period back. You want to get younger and faster, and that's what they did with this pick. Now with Thieneman, his 40 time at the combine was 4.35. That was faster than Stephon Diggs, Justin Jefferson, and AJ Brown at their combine. So he's out there with pretty good company. Hopefully, like you say, it transfers over to the football field. Now, with the previewing day 2 a little bit in transition here, previewing into day 2 of the second, which takes place tonight in Pittsburgh. Who are some of the names you're looking at potentially that could help this Bears team? Because they have 2 second-round picks, 1 third-round pick, I believe a 4th-round pick, the round pick. So I think we'll just focus in on the second round because it's tonight. But I see some pretty good names that the Bears could select. At least one of them. My prediction is they'll select one of those backup offensive lineman. What say you?
Okay, well, just to talk about that, like I heard that earlier, folks saying that, oh, well, he had a faster time than Stephon Diggs and AJ Brown. Look, that doesn't mean anything. We've seen guys that have had those types of times and then they don't produce. So I will hold off on folks, comparing those things. It's really annoying when I hear people do that. But let's hope that he can develop into a good safety. Like I said, more Cooper DeJean and less Chris Conti. Now, as far as whoever's left, I mean, you got Jared McCoy. But I think he's going to go early because San Francisco needs safety help. So, and also Emmanuel McNeil-Warren from Toledo. He's another guy that could go, second round. Caden McDonald, the D tackle from Ohio State. Jacob Rodriguez, I'm surprised his name's still there, but I think some of the questions that he does have a big resume. That's why he's fallen a little bit and such. Let's see here. TJ Parker, who I thought the Bears were going to take, but he might, that might be Brian Poles calling right now. He might be another name. So, like I said, do I see maybe trading up? So do I see, maybe could the Bears maybe trade up because they got 2 picks in the second round. So could they maybe trade one of those and, move up or move back? Who knows? But it's sort of one of those days where they will have. It's just going to depend on how the other teams do, because we'll talk about the first round and there are some guys that I'm kind of scratching my head on. I think there was a guy that the Bears wanted, but one of the teams ahead of them took him instead. But yeah, I think they need to try to find an edge rusher. There's still some available. They better be lucky.
Yeah, a couple of other names to consider for tonight's second round, or even when you're watching the second round of the NFL draft tonight. You mentioned by Caden McDonald out of Ohio State, the defensive tackle. Jacob Jackus, the edge rusher out of the University of Illinois. He could be a possibility for this Bears team. You mentioned about Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker. Keontae Scott, the defensive back from the University of Miami. He's another possibility. You mentioned TJ Parker out of Clemson. AJ Halsey, the safety out of LSU. The Bears did get their safety last night. They can always use another one, but I don't think they're going to use one of their second round picks. That's just in my opinion. Derek Moore, the edge rusher out of Michigan. I think he could fit the Bears perfectly for this team. And of course, D'Angelo Ponce, the defensive back out of Indiana, I should say. You correct me if I'm wrong. Just looking at his name here on this list, but the Bears do have options tonight, and like I said before I asked you the multiple second round picks, you can use one definitely to get as edge rusher, the one that you want, and the other one to get a backup offensive tackle. We talked about the offensive line promises. Yes, you signed a free agent center in the offseason from New England. We know that Ozzie Trapello is going to miss most, if not all, of next year. You need a backup tackle. It's a perfect scenario to address both those needs tonight.
Yeah, and you are right about Ponzi. He's from Indiana. He's another one of those guys that that could be there for the Bears. Could be one of those guys that could probably. He's a Miami kid, and it's going to be interesting to see if he's there for the Bears. He could be somebody that's there for the Bears. With those 2 picks. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those days where do I see perhaps maybe Poles maybe pulling something there, because like I said, they do get a couple more picks, but they only got 5 picks total. So do I see them perhaps maybe giving trading one of those picks to get more picks in the back end as we get into tomorrow with rounds 4 through 7, probably perhaps find a gem there. Who knows? But like I said, it's gonna be interesting. Look, it's gonna depend on what the teams do ahead of them, because like I said. There were a couple of times where I was wondering, okay, I kind of scratched my head with some of them. We'll get to that after the break, but gonna be interesting to see what happens these next couple of days.
More NFL draft talk when we return right here on Second City Sports Chicago. Fernando that happened, which ended up happening, but guys in round 2 tonight, rounds 3 through 7 tomorrow. That and a whole lot more. I'm Sid. That's Lakeena. You're listening to Second City Sports right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms. On Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel, you can find us at Sports Zone Chicago. And on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Whoops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Hey, this is Corey McGetty, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
Chicago. Sid the Kid is me. Lakeena McGee is she. On the Twitter, X, and the IG is Sid Kid 80. Once again, it's Sid Kid 80. That's SIDKID 80. That's SIDKID 80.
You follow Lakeena McGee on the Twitter, executives again at IG.
As we continue to review the first round draft picks from last night's 2026 NFL draft, if you have any questions on that and or the Bears first round selection, Dillon Thieneman from last night, you could definitely hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakeena will get the up on the screen for you.
All right, the rest of the first round. There were definitely some surprises. Let's talk about that here on this segment of no surprise. Of course, the Raiders took Reno Mendoza from Indiana. It was all but official. Now it became official. Of course, Mendoza spent the night with his family, and they had already, LinkedIn had already posted a commercial with him after he got selected, during all the network's first commercial blocks. So it was actually pretty funny. But yeah, so no big surprise there. Of course, Tom Brady, he'll be working with him, I'm sure. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. Now, this is when it got kind of interesting. The Jets, with their three picks, I should say, they took David Bailey, the former edge rusher from Texas Tech. A little bit smaller, but I think he definitely fills a need in that front seven. They definitely need that. So that was a pretty cool, not an interesting selection there. Jeremiah Love, we talked about it for the last couple of weeks. I know Christine is going to be very excited. Of course, the talented running back from Notre Dame. Arizona gets him. They were very high on him the last few weeks. They got him. Now, Carnell Tate, who, Cam Ward, of course, will be catching passes from him. If you saw how new Titans OC, how excited Brian Dable was, he was like a kid in a candy store. It was just it's just kind of funny how he reacted. But yeah, it should be very fun. Those two could be a nice little combo down there in Nashville. Now, Avro Reese, who a lot of people I would go to, but he is going to the Giants with their two picks. A talented edge rusher from Ohio State. I really like this pick. I'm sure John Harbaugh was like a kid in a candy store rubbing his hands together when the resale fell down to him. So that was a really cool pick. So yeah. Any surprises so
Do a
far?
little Birdman action.
Yes, he did. So any surprises so far? Any head scratchers?
I'll be honest with you, if you want to believe it. Yeah. You talking about any surprises? I think if you believe the height, Jeremiah Love was getting a lot of love, no pun intended. We talked about it on the show for the last couple of weeks of New York Giants possibly selected him, but like I said, Arizona had 2 picks ahead, got to him first. But I'm gonna talk about Ruben Bain Jr. I thought that the Kansas City Chiefs, who had the 6th pick, would select him, but they chose to go with Mansour Delane out of LSU, the defensive back. I know that the Chiefs need a couple of defensive backs, but I don't think, in me personally, I don't think that's their strength. Their need of a position. I thought that they would go with Ruben Bain with the 6th pick, but I guess they didn't have him ranked high enough on their board. So I thought that was a little surprising there. Sonny Styles being selected out of Ohio State with the 8th pick with the Washington Commanders. Nice uniforms, by the way, going back to the plain retro uniforms. I had to give him love for that. Jordan Tice at number 8. Jordan Tice at number 8 to New Orleans out of Arizona State. That gives whoever's quarterbacking for the New Orleans Saints another weapon there to help out that Saints offense. The Cleveland Browns, Lakeena, look out now, but I like their running back that they selected last year out of Ohio State. His name escapes me for the moment, but they selected Spencer Fandle, the offensive tackle from Utah. He may have been on the Bears list, I'm just saying, but he wouldn't have fallen to 25 in my opinion. But Cleveland did a great job with that selection. Of course, Francis Manuga, out of the another offensive tackle that John Harbaugh and the New York Giants selected with 10.
Yeah, the Delane pick I was a little surprised by as well, but remember they traded Trent McDuffie to the Rams, so that's probably why they decided to perhaps maybe go with him instead of Ruben Bain Jr. We'll get to him in a bit here, but I think it should be an interesting pick. I mean, look, we'll see how the defense was really kind of like their I don't want to say their weakness, but it wasn't as good as their offense last year with the Chiefs. So we'll see what he can do there. Sonny Styles, look. Look, I mean, it's going to be, I forgot the name of the coach. Might see, I'm having a brain fart today too. But yeah, he's a defensive guy. So look. I mean, Styles is an All-American.
Dan Quinn.
Dan Quinn, yeah, thank you. My gosh, see, I'm getting support to get older. But yeah, Sonny Styles, I think. Look, I'm sure. Look, he was very excited. Of course, the draft. They do all the calls and stuff. You know how excited Coach Quinn got when Styles was available to him. So yeah, that should be a fun. See how the coach Jordan Tyson. Look, his dad. Of course, he comes from a pretty athletic family. We took a little bit of we went to church with his dad. Apparently, he had a nice little prayer that was actually pretty nice. Of course, his dad actually played in the NFL for a little bit as well. So look, not a big sample size, but I think the Saints, I think he could be a good asset to Kellen Moore's offense. We'll see. That should be a fun one. Spencer Fandle, who's an All-American tackle, I think. Look, protecting the Shedeur Sanders' blind side. That's what you need. So that could be a nice pick for the Browns. Francisco Magoa from Miami. He did a great job. I think he was all ACC. And look, he already told Jackson Dart that he'd die for him. I don't know how how you should take that, but I guess that's going all in. So, but yeah. So so a nice pick for the Giants, and I really liked the first two picks for the Giants. I think. Look, John Harbaugh's building a nice little nucleus there. Now, these next few picks, of course, Caleb Downs from Ohio State. I really like this pick. Of course, they traded places with Miami, so that's how that happened, and that should be. I think Brian Schottenheimer will love to use him. Caden Proctor from Alabama, of course, there's a brand new regime down there in Miami. I think he could be a nice little asset for them in that O-line's position.
Mm-hmm.
Now, probably the biggest surprise from that, Ty Simpson from Alabama, the quarterback. Some people thought that maybe he'd be a late first rounder, perhaps maybe an early second rounder. He ended up going 13 to the Rams. Maybe, I guess, I don't know, but look, but we'll see. Look, we know how Sean McVay, likes to, with quarterbacks and offensive guys, so maybe he'll find another gem here. Who knows? Alavia Vega Aloyne, the two-time Big Ten guard. He can protect the blind side very well. I think he'd be a great asset to that Jesse Mentor offense and helping protect Lamar Jackson, that defense. So I think this is a good pick for them. Now, speaking of Ruben Bain, I think this was a steal for Tampa. I think he'd be a great asset as an edge rusher because they got a whole look. They had some deflections on that defense. So this would be a good. This would be a really good. He could be a very good edge rusher for the Raheem Morris defense.
Yeah, and I think the head coach Todd Bowles, at least for the time being, may have saved his job with this pick. So we'll see what happens with that. Like I said, that defense gets faster and it gets younger with the addition of him. But I want to go back to Ty Simpson with that number 13 selection by the Rams. Of course, I know Jimmy Garoppolo was talking about retirement. At least that was the rumor mill right now. And I don't know if you saw any of the press conference clips of the press conference from last night. Like, GM Lesney was with Sean Payton, with Sean McVay, I should say, and Sean McVay was not happy. And early words that that Ty Simpson may compete with Stetson Bennett for the second spot.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how well that's going to go down. I know Matthews Rams are a team that are built to win now, but whether Ty Simpson works out or not, from a football perspective, I get Lesney selected because you don't want to be stuck out there in no man's land, assuming that next year that it will be Matthew Stafford's last year in the league because of age. But page for the draft pick and your true emotion shows in the press conference, these could go pretty sour pretty quick.
Yeah, it can. So we'll see how that goes with him over there. I'm talking about Ty Simpson over there with the Rams now. Ken Sadiq, the tight end. This is this should be interesting to see what the Jets do with him. And that's going to be interesting. Blake Miller, the old tackle. I'm assuming. I guess he's going to be a replacement for Bradbury. So that should be a nice addition there, protecting Jared Goff. Caleb Banks. Now, this is the one that kind of scratches some people's heads. The D tackle from Florida. Look, he's really good, but the problem is that he can't stay healthy. So this should be an interesting pick to see how this goes for the folks over there with Miami. With Florida. Florida and Minnesota. Minnesota folks are not very happy with this pick. But we'll see how it goes.
And without a G right now too.
Yep, and Monroe Freeland helping to protect Bryce Young from Georgia, going to Carolina. And this is where it gets a little bit interesting. We're coming up in a little bit here, but I think this is definitely another steal for the Eagles. Mekhi Lemon, the talented wide receiver, all Big Ten from USC. It should be interesting. The reason why we're laughing is because of how all this transpired. Now, Pittsburgh, who actually, we'll talk about Pittsburgh in a second, but Pittsburgh, who was would have drafted behind them, they actually traded with Dallas. They switched, they picked another, they picked up Malachi. We'll talk about him in a second. But Lemon was actually on the phone with the Steelers when I guess his agent came in and said, no, Holly Roseman's on the phone. And of course, he ends up going to Philadelphia. And Pittsburgh fans were not very happy. If you saw what happened after the trade was announced. But but I think, look, I guess with all the rumors going around about AJ Brown, I think this is definitely not going to be his replacement. So say what you think.
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, we brought up Malachi Lemon's name last week on our show, and we I think we talked about this with our guest Eric Edholm last Monday on the show, where he could be a possible replacement if the Philadelphia Eagles were in the position to select them. I was like, yeah, and that's the first thing I thought when I heard the selection last night. So we talked about the Philadelphia Eagles offense struggling last year in part because they protected Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts wasn't running as much as he did the year before when they won the title. AJ Brown, of course, had his issues, and it dropped in production, which affected the rest of the guys. So Malachi Lemon, he's a big play guy. He's definitely going to help out Jalen Hurts and the rest of the Eagles offense, and things should be back on track. But getting back to the Detroit Lions, Lakeena, Blake Miller, with the offensive tackle selected out of Clemson, he definitely replaces Taylor Decker now. Is Taylor Decker a possibility to be a backup here in Chicago if Brian Post doesn't like the offensive selections in the draft tonight? We shall see. But I like that pick for the Detroit Lions. Like you said, he's going to protect Jared Goff and Caleb Banks. I think we brought his name up on the show in the last week or two. Schematically, he fits the Minnesota Vikings, but I know he's not going to start running until June. So hopefully, if everything goes to, hopefully you can see him in some preseason games to see where his conditioning is. But if there's any setbacks, especially now as I just mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like I said, I think that that Banks pick, like I said, he could be a steal, but like I said, I mean, the problem with him has been the fact, like I said, he can't stay healthy, and plus, like you said, he didn't go to the workouts because he's still recovering from his injury. So I'm a little worried about this Minnesota pick. I mean, he does fit that defense that Minnesota runs, and look, they gotta change hands because they had a lot of guys go on that defense. So he definitely fills a need, but let's just hope it works out, injury wise.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Chicago City. Lakeena here with you, reviewing last night's first-round picks from the 2026 NFL Draft. We'll give you a quick preview of what to expect and for tonight's second-round selections and for the rest of the weekend, rounds 3 through 7 tomorrow. And finishing up the first-round picks, we'll start off with the 22nd pick. The Los Angeles Chargers selected Akeem Messidor from the University of Miami. That's a good move, in my opinion. They're the edge rusher. Malachi Lawrence at number 23 was selected by the Dallas Cowboys out of UCF. That's University of Central Florida for those scoring at home. With the 24th pick, the Cleveland Browns selected wide receiver Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M. With the 25th pick, of course, Dillon Thieneman, the safety out of Oregon, selected by our Chicago Bears. The 26th pick, if you're listening, Brandon Schutz, your Houston Texans selected offensive guard Keelan Rutledge from the University of Georgia Tech. He was selected to protect C.J. Stroud. With the 27th pick, the Miami Dolphins selected Chris Johnson, the defensive back out of San Diego State. The New England Patriots at 28 selected offensive tackle Caleb Lomu from University of Utah. The Chiefs, with their second first-round pick at 29, they selected Peter Woods, defensive tackle out of Clemson. Omar Cooper Jr., the wide receiver out of Indiana. I told you he was very good last year. He was selected by the New York Jets at pick 30. Pick number 31 from the Tennessee Titans belonged to Keetrick Fault, the edge rusher out of Auburn. And Jadarian Price, the running back out of Notre Dame. He was selected by the world champion Seattle Seahawks, which wraps up your first round. Any surprises, disappointments there?
Just a note that you forgot that 21 Max Igukor, the old tackle out of Arizona State. He is going to Pittsburgh. He's actually another one of the top guys available. So for Mike McCarthy, the new head coach Mike McCarthy, I think this should be a good pick to protect whoever's going to be the QB, whether it's Aaron Rodgers or whoever, blind side. So it should be interesting to see what happens there. Now, Messidor, I know that a lot of Bears fans wanted him, because of course the edge rusher from Miami. I know people were not very happy that he ended up going to the Chargers. Malachi Lawrence, I think that's a really good fit in that defense. Casey Kission. Like I said, I think there's nothing wrong with giving someone an extra wide receiver, extra target. So another target there for Shedeur Sanders. The Rutledge pick I like, protecting C.J. Stroud. Chris Johnson, they could be a nice little nucleus here with us with that secondary down there in Miami. Caleb Lumo, look, I think like I said, I really like his game and his size. So that should definitely help protect Drake May. Peter Woods, again, a little surprised they didn't go with the edge rusher. Falk, I think, would have been a good fit for them, but Omar Cooper Jr., again, like I said, I think he really could be a good fit for that offense. Now, who's going to throw to him? I think that's going to be the million-dollar question there. I thought about Keldrick Falk. I mean, I think that could be a good, nice edge rusher. Of course, Robert Saleh, new head coach there, he loves his edge rushers. So, and that's for that defense they're going to be building there. Jarian Prince, I thought, could have been a early second rounder. But remember, they got to replace Kenneth Walker III. We'll talk about Seattle, so he fills a need there. Now, we didn't see him that much. Of course, Jeremiah Love got all the love, but he's actually a pretty decent running back in his own right. So maybe a little high, pick-wise, but I think he could be a good fit for that offense down up there in Seattle.
We talked about what the Bears could do tonight with their two second-round picks, assuming that Ryan Post doesn't trade any of them. Any other names that fans should be looking out for tonight as the second round begins and the rest of the rounds will be finishing up tomorrow? Any other names that fans should be who are the other names, unsung names that fans should be looking forward to perhaps being selected tonight by their favorite team?
Well, just for clarification, the 8 teams will be making their first picks tonight. The Bengals, Bills, Broncos, Colts, Falcons, Jags, Packers, and 49ers. The 49ers actually be the first team coming out the gate in that second round. Now they need edge rusher. Like I said, this is where I think where you'll see Jared McCoy and Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I mean, those guys could be gone. Could be going to one of those guys. Could be going over there to San Francisco. Let's see here. Garrett Nussmeier, I think, is a fascinating that he could be a hidden gem there for somebody. Of course, the QB from LSU, that could be a good maybe sleeper pick, if you will. Let's see, Brian Parker II, the guard from Duke. I think he could be if he's there. I think maybe the Bears could you can never have too many old linemen, so that could be another name there. Darren Jackson, the D tackle from Florida State, is another name that perhaps could be whether it's later on Friday or it's tomorrow with those 4 through 7 picks. I mean, it should be interesting to see what happens with that one. Let's see, anyone else? Emmett Johnson, the running back. I mean, he could be a nice little backup running back for somebody with an extra running back. I know running backs are a dime a dozen in the NFL, but you can never have too many good ones. So he could be a sleeper out there in the later rounds.
Yeah, there's a couple of edge rushers, a few edge rushers to keep your eye on, especially if you're a Chicago Bears fan. As I mentioned, with the 2 second-round picks tonight, Zion Young out of Missouri, Cassius Howell out of Texas A&M, Gabe Jackas, as I mentioned earlier, out of the University of Illinois, T.J. Parker. He was selected out of Clemson. Derek Moore out of Michigan. I think I mentioned him earlier. LT Overton out of Alabama. He could be also another possibility for the Chicago Bears. And going down, I saw another player on this list I wanted to get your opinion on. Jack Pyburn out of LSU and Anthony Lucas out of USC.
Yeah, Lucas, I think, could be definitely be a good hidden gem for somebody. I think he's one of those guys where he kind of got, since there's so many talented guys over at SC, he's a defensive end. Kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit. He could, there is some injury questions with him, so that's why he didn't get picked in the first round. He could be a 3rd or 4th rounder, so he could probably be a good edge rusher that maybe not like a guy that could start right away, but he could probably learn from. So that's another name that I probably would say that that could be a good potential hidden gem, if you will. You talk about him, Rashad Benny. I did D tackle from Michigan, of course. I really like him, but a fan of his. He's one of those guys that he's not the biggest guy, but he's definitely one of the most productive D tackles. So he could perhaps maybe be somebody that could probably be a really good hidden gem, if you will. So look, there are a lot of sleepers out there. Remember, Tom Brady, I know he says this every year. especially since he started doing television. I know I just saw him do it again earlier this week. He said, "Look, I mean, if you're a fifth or sixth, or he himself was a seventh rounder, look, don't be too discouraged. Look, look what happened to him. So for all the guys that haven't had their names called yet, look, don't get discouraged because you never know. The less pressure on you, you got more to prove."
Yep. Shout out to our guys, DJ Turnbine, aka Arturo Garza in the chat. We see, and of course, our guy Brendan Schutz, who's always checking in from down south in Texas. We see. I hope you guys are doing well. Thank you for your support. You listen to Second City Sports on Sports on Chicago. Lakeena here with you. We're previewing tonight's second round of the NFL draft. Lakeena, I want to go to the wide receivers. Assuming that everything goes according to plan, and I'm using air quotes here for our Chicago Bears. I want to go over to the wide receivers. Just to throw out a few names for you. Maybe Ryan Poles will select with the departure of DJ Moore. Bears fans should look out for tonight as far as selected wide receivers. If not with one of the multiple second round picks, definitely with that third round pick. Wide receivers: Denzel Boston out of Washington, Antonio Williams out of Clemson, Malachi Fields out of Notre Dame, Skylar Bell out of UConn, Elijah Sarrett out of Indiana, and Dejon Stribling out of Ole Miss.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of buzz about Boston. Denzel Boston, of course, from Washington. He made some big catches for them last season. He probably could be a good asset for the Bears if he's there, but I think I've heard some people say he could be a mid-second rounder, so he might be gone by the time the Bears. It's the Bears' turn now. Fields could be a good one because I think he probably fits that offense that Ben Johnson wants to run better. Antonio Williams, who I've really liked from Clemson the last couple of years, he's definitely one of those speedy, wide receivers. He led them in rushing the last 2 seasons. He's more of a slot guy, so that could probably perhaps maybe fit if he's there. Deep in the second round, he could be probably perhaps maybe Ryan Poles picking him if he's there. So we'll have to wait and see. Now, again, some of the people always say that the wide receiving core, like I said, running wide receivers are kind of the same thing. They're kind of like, make sure you get the right one. So Stribling, I think, could be a good one out of Ole Miss. He was one of Trinidad Champas's main targets for Ole Miss last year. So he could be a guy that if they're there, we'll see. Skylar Bell is a good one too from UConn. I know people didn't really watch him very much because, of course, he went to UConn, but I think he's one of those guys. Look, he was a consistent All-American, so he is very versatile. He can go play in the slot, he can play on the outside. He has good size, 6 feet, 192. So not the biggest wide receiver, but he is very speedy. So of course, we know Ben Johnson likes speedy guys, so he could be a guy that if he is there. In the second round, I think Skylar Bell from UConn, he could be a steal. Yeah.
A couple other names to pass along before we wrap up our number one. Chris Bell out of Louisville. This is wide receivers, folks. Chris Bell out of Louisville. Bryce Lane out of North Dakota State. Jeff Caldwell out of Cincinnati. And Malik Benson out of the University of Oregon.
Benson, I think, is an intriguing name. I mean, like I said, another guy who likes the speed. He ran a 4.37 at the combine. All right, here we go again. But he's actually a really good receiver. So I think, we're going doing the 40 times again. But yeah, he's also a good blocker as well. 189. Not the biggest, but he perhaps, he does a punt return for a touchdown for Oregon last season. So yeah, he could be another guy that could be a sleeper. So yeah, there are a lot of hidden gems in these positions. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Bears and the other teams do we'll see if there's going to be any more surprises. Now, the second and third round of the NFL draft will be, of course, on ABC and ESPN, as well as the NFL Network, rounds 2 through 3. And also the rest of the NFL draft, rounds 4 through 7, will be tomorrow. Now, because of other commitments, that's unfortunately there won't be on ABC, but you will see it on ESPN. It's ESPN2 as well as NFL Network. So it's also going to be streaming on Fubo if you have that. So you can find ways to watch the NFL draft.
Stay tuned for more sports and more fun as our Number 2 of Second City Sports continues with the return of Christine, the Queen Manika. You're listening to Sports Zone Chicago.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Chi. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
How do you take care of your mind health?
For my mental health, I meditate in the mornings.
I have my dogs. They're the best.
I just find ways that help me just relax.
Finding things that make me happy, like being close to my family.
I meditate a lot and read books.
I have hobbies outside of the game. I'm able to switch off. I'm able to turn my brain off from the game of basketball.
Your mind health matters.
Your mind health matters.
It's a romance sport. What? It's a romance sport like that.
Your Marine Corps' way of life is to defend the American way of life. Every day, no matter where we serve, we take a stand for our nation, for each other, for us all. The few, the proud, the Marines.
Everybody in a work zone is someone somebody.
This is my mom. She works for KDOT.
This is my dad.
This is my mom.
This is my daddy.
This is my sister.
This is my daddy.
This is my son, Scott. He was killed while working in a highway work zone. When you drive through a work zone, drive like a life depends on it. Because it does.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Second City Sports live in the living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Lakeena McGee is she. Sidney Brown here is me. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80.
You follow Lakeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
As we kick off hour number 2 of this program by bringing on our very special weekly guest, you have any questions or comments for her, you can definitely hit us up right now at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakeena will get the up on the screen for you.
All right, let's not waste any more time. Says she is our girl, your girl from KXRB in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She's the one, the only, the fabulous Miss Christine, the Queen Manika. Hey, Christine.
Hello, guys. How are
you?
We're good. We're good. How about you?
You know what? It's life. You know, we're here.
Well, I know we get a lot to talk with you. Let's start with the Bears in the NFL draft. Of course, the Bears took. If you guys didn't listen to us earlier, the Dillon Thieneman from Oregon. Do you like the pick?
I was shocked. So as soon as I saw Jeremiah Love went number 3, I went to sleep because I was tired. So I didn't see anything really for the Bears pick. I wasn't awake during that, but when I saw it the next morning, I was really excited because theoretically we weren't supposed to get this guy. He wasn't necessarily the top of our list because the Bears didn't think that they could get him, and Minnesota passed up on him. So they jumped on the opportunity. Colston Loveland, I saw earlier this morning, tweeted that this was not supposed to be our guy, but he's coming to Chicago, and I think he's going to be a big help on the defensive side of things. Dennis Allen, I'm sure, is thrilled with this pick.
I like it, Christy. You're going with the no face look. I love it. I love it. I love it. But what do we talked about it in our last break? What do you expect? You expect the Bears to, with their multiple second round picks, to select the top pass rusher. I think most fans will be disappointed if one of those second round picks doesn't result in the top pass rusher, especially after we saw last year with the inconsistencies there.
Yeah, I definitely think we were talking about this earlier. They have their offense. You know, they're pretty solid on that side of things at the moment. Defense is when they need to beef things back up because they did lose a lot of players in the offseason. So now it's about building up that defensive side, and something that's going to be considered Dennis Allen's team, his line, just because, you know, he inherited a lot of those guys from previous coaching staff. So this is probably going to be the first time we can see Dennis Allen really see what he has to do, what he can do for this team in the long run.
Now, out of the guys that are left over, and the biggest need, of course, is edge rusher, perhaps maybe even an O-line guy. So what names are you thinking for the Bears to take in those, especially with those 2 picks in the second round coming up tonight?
To be honest, Lakeena, I can't tell you any names because I don't know the names of the guys that are out there. But I do hope that they do take some more from the defensive side, the pass rusher, and an extra lineman. That's always in a need as well. That's always pretty handy.
All right, let's switch it over to baseball. We'll start with the Southsiders first. Munetaka Murakami, show me the Mooney, as John Strickland said the other day. The White Sox come home at 10-15, 4-2 on their West Coast road trip, beating the Oakland A's, as I say on this show, in Sacramento, 2 out of 3. And they take the rubber match at Arizona at Chase Field yesterday by the score of 4-1, taking that series there, winning 2 out of 3. Christine, outside of Munetaka Murakami's home runs, what else excites you about this White Sox team? It looks like, I'm not saying playoffs, but it looks like, at least offensively for the last week, it looks like they definitely started to turn the corner.
There's a couple of things that's intriguing. One is the hometown aspect of it, and Noah Schultz. I think he's a great kid. I think it's great that he's finally getting this opportunity with the organization and to move up to the big leagues. And I know Chicago fans, they always like to support a local kid whenever they're in an organization like the White Sox, or really any team in Chicago when they come home. Montgomery, I think he looks pretty solid too. And I was making a joke to my husband not that long ago about, I can't pronounce his name. I'm going to let you guys do that. I said, I think, the White Sox have their next Shohei Ohtani in a weird way. And I don't want to jump the gun by saying that, but he's on a list where not many Japanese players end up having consistent home runs for the start of their MLB careers. And last time I checked, Shohei wasn't even on that list. So it's pretty impressive so far.
No, again, a couple of days ago, this is actually, the 4th straight game, a couple of days ago of Montgomery and Murakami, both homer. They're the first time that pair of teammates have done that in 4 consecutive games. Now, can they keep it up? Who knows? We know how the season kind of ebbs and flows and such, but does this kind of I'm not saying playoffs either, but can they at least make things interesting in the AL Central, you think?
I definitely think so. They can either, like you said, be in the playoffs or be someone's secret upset. They can be the one to ruin someone's season, the spoilers of the MLB.
Speaking of spoiling, hopefully, we're as Sox fans, we're spoiled by what Murakami's doing right now. I know he signed a 2-year deal, and I don't want to talk about if next year's going to be lost or not. Like, we'll get to it when we get to it. But if you're the White Sox Braves, are you going to? Would you, if you were sitting in Chris Getz or Jerry Reinsdorf's seat right now, Christine, and let's just say if barring any major injuries, let's say we get to Memorial Day and Murakami's numbers go up. Would you go to him, to his agents, and start talking contract extension?
Oh, yeah. If you're looking for a franchise player in the next face of the team, between him and Cole Montgomery, I think that would be the wise thing to do. The White Sox have issues with keeping good talent and, in another sense, keeping the players talented.
Now, what about the rest of baseball? Like we've seen the Phillies, they've lost 9 in a row. The Mets, they're starting to turn around a little bit. They won a couple in a row the last few games. San Diego's, they've won 8 of their last 10. Boston's been in the AL East. Houston's not been very good, although they did win yesterday. So any surprises so far in a still very young baseball season?
Yeah, still very young. You know, my husband being an Angels fan, when they were winning a lot of games in the beginning, I kind of looked at him and I said, I don't know. It looks like you guys can make a run for it this year. And Trout is having a great season as well. And again, very young, so knock on wood on that. But I think the team looks, for the most part, pretty solid. He could correct me by that later on. But I think, in my opinion, they look they're solid.
Yeah, the Angels are 12-14 right now. We saw what they did against the Yankees a couple weeks ago in New York. Mike Trout put on the show, hitting 4 home runs in that series, 1 in each game to Aaron Judge's 2, and the Angels came out there with the split. The Milwaukee Brewers right now, check this out. Even though their record is barely over 500, they are in last place in the NL Central with a 13-11 record. Of course, the Chicago Cubs have won their last 9 games. So, Christine, do you think the good times will continue for the North Stars? They go to Los Angeles to play the Dodgers on the road for 3 games.
I don't mind watching the North Siders have a little free fall. That's my pessimistic side of me. Sorry, Lakeena.
No, that's fine. I think you got to keep your expectations low and then be a pessimist. So
right,
it's fine.
Right.
It's fine. I'm not. No. I'm not worried about that. Now let's go to the Bulls. As just like I see sports got Lakeena, McGee, Sidney Brown, and our girl KXRB's Christine Manika. Now the Bulls, of course, Billy Donovan has decided to say bye-bye to the Bulls. There might be some more coaching openings. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. But of course, they're doing, of course, they've been interviewing some guys in the front office side. Apparently, there's been one guy that has already pulled his name out of consideration for it. Of course, Austin Brown, the co-head of the CAA's basketball division. He's a longtime agent. Not to pursue that. So, what do you think about the whole thing with the Bulls? And who do you think will be the next head coach or GM or front office person?
I'll tell you what, when I heard about Billy Donovan, Coach Donovan stepping down, I at first didn't believe it because, they were very adamant, Jerry and others in the front office, that they were going to keep him around, that he was part of their vision. And, rightfully so, he had his own conversations with them. And if he felt that it wasn't a vision with him in it going forward, then I think he made the right decision. It's a shame because he had enough talent on the team at one point where they could have done great things even this past season, but they can't get the job done. So if I was Jerry or any of those guys in the front office hosting interviews, I would say find a coach that's okay with failure at first, but find a way to finish it and to use the talent that they have before they take on that next step.
Now, I was going to ask you about the front office part of it. Would you want a guy with little to no experience, or you want a guy with tons of experience? Because the job looks attractive right now because the Bulls have multiple first round picks for this upcoming year's draft. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't want a guy that has been around the block, so to speak, but I would like someone that has been in the league for a little bit, maybe at least 5 years experience under his belt, not someone that is just kind of going through the motions and this could be the last stop.
All right. We haven't, you know what, Theo, going back to baseball, we haven't even done our predictions yet, but I don't think we want to because I think a couple of my predictions, so far have not looked good. So let's wait.
You might as well do it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, look. We'll start in the AL, I guess, with the East. The Yankees
oh boy, are we sure? I'm not really ready for this.
Yeah, I know. Well, like I said, we look by the All-Star
lid on this.
Yeah, I mean, look,
let's wait till the All-Star break.
Yeah, because like I said, I think a lot could happen between now and a lot of these standings could change. So I think we'll give ourselves a mulligan on that. Now, today is actually the last day for NBA for underclassmen to officially declare for the NBA draft. Koa Pete, the talented forward from Arizona, just announced that he's declaring for the draft. No surprise. Darren Peterson, the freshman sensation for Kansas, he has declared, again, not a big surprise there. Now, some guys that have not said whether or not they're gonna go. Cam Boozer from Duke, Ade Mara from Michigan, the reigning champion Michigan, Morris Johnson also from Michigan, Braden Berry's also from Arizona. So there's still some guys that have not decided on whether or not they're going to declare. So do you guys think there could be some surprises before the day is over with?
I wouldn't be. Did the other Boozer brother? Did he declare or no?
No, he's staying. He's staying. Caden's staying.
Oh wow!
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow! Okay. Maybe he'll come out. Maybe he'll say. I changed my mind.
Yeah, he was good, but I don't think he's going to play in the league yet. But like you said, Cam Boozer, he's going to be a top 3, top 5 pick, so he's definitely coming out. We may see a surprise or two, Lakeena, but I don't think it's going to be anything earth-shattering. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, so it's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. Now, we'll talk about the rest of the playoffs, the NBA playoffs and the NHL playoffs coming up after the break, but have you been watching the NBA playoffs so far, Christine? Any surprises you've seen thus far?
I have, and the biggest surprise was when we watched the Lakers' first game and Bronny was actually getting minutes and not garbage time. That was the biggest surprise I saw.
Yeah, I know your husband Chris is very happy right now. The Lakers are up 2-0. They play Game 3 tonight down there in Houston. That's at 7:00 on Amazon Prime. But like you said, Christine, LeBron's supporting cast have been getting the job done these first 2 games of this series. I know Kevin Durant missed the first game due to knee issues in Game 1. He looked good the other night on this past Tuesday, but his supporting mates didn't get the job done. Like Lakeena said, we'll dive more deeper to that in our next break. But without Luka Doncic, without Austin Reeves for the Lakers, LeBron's supporting cast has come up now. Like you said, Bronny Jr. Didn't do much in Game 2, but he came to play these first 2 games of this series.
Yeah, and plus, I got to put this out there too. Anyone that has a contusion injury, walk it off. This is the playoffs. I'm going to get a lot of heat for saying that, but come on.
Well, contusions could be. Look, I mean, they can swell up. They can look. So I can kind of understand why you don't. I understand what not wanting to make it worse, but yeah, it's a bruise. Contusions are bruises, so bruises are very weird. We'll have to wait and see if
right.
Well, like I said, nobody.
I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, I know that. Shout out to Al DeSumo, of course, already doing big things. From Minnesota, he was a big part of them. Getting that upset 25 points, which is a season high for him off the bench for Minnesota to help them get that take a 2-1 lead against Denver. Look, I know Aaron Gordon didn't play. He may not play Game 4 coming up, but look, let's give Minnesota credit here. They've beaten Denver. They know how to get to Denver, especially with their defense. So for people to say, well, you know what, Aaron Gordon wasn't there, blah blah blah. Did y'all forget that they just beat them in the playoffs a couple of years ago? Like, did y'all just forget that?
Mhm.
So it's kind of crazy. Moving on.
Yeah, we're gonna move on here, right here on Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. See Christine and Lakeena here with you. Christine, I want to get your thoughts on this topic. We touched on it just a smidge on this show, but of course, I'm referring to the Mike Vrabel, Diane Rossini situation. Of course, Diane Rossini, of course, resigned from the Athletic a couple weeks ago. Of course, the photo came out with them two getting together in 2020. Obviously, someone or a couple of people. I think this is deeper than what we know right now, or somebody's trying to owe somebody something, or somebody is trying to get something for somebody. That's just me. But Christine, I want to ask you this from a female's perspective in sports. I'll ask you first, and then thing whether Diana Rossini's resignation from the Athletic due to this scandal. I'll just being respectful here. How much do you think this puts progress back into women reporting in sports? Do you think that fair or unfairly that other women that are currently in the sports field will be judged harshly?
You know, I think whether or not this would have come out in some way or another, women still get scrutinized in sports. It doesn't matter if this came out or not. They still get looked down upon. They still are questioned, and this situation doesn't make that any better. I think if anything, it's gonna have women lose their credibility. And that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate on all levels, really. And the thing that you got to remember here is there are families behind each of those photos. There are kids. There are spouses involved in all of this. So I think with that perspective in mind, yes, you do have to be respectful about this. And then you also have to realize too, these were two consenting adults that made a decision, and unfortunately, it was public. It was made public, and that's something that they're just going to have to live with.
Yeah, unfortunately for Rossini, is that there have been rumors. We talked about it a couple of years ago. There was one of the front office. I don't know if her husband's still working the front office for Washington, but she was the one that came out. Now she tweeted something saying, like, again, we know what you did to get the scoop or whatever. I'm paraphrasing, and she had to delete the tweet. But she's kind of sounds like the smart one here, and like more stuff that's coming out, more pictures and what have you. And I was talking to a friend, one of my Twitter friends yesterday, and I think he's kind of said the same thing, that look, I mean, no one's proved. These things happen, unfortunately. And I feel for the boys, for both her boys and Rivers boy is a little bit young, a little bit older. One of them probably might have known already, or may have had suspicions about it. Now, her sons are very young, and supposedly there are rumors that maybe her oldest, maybe Vrabel's not her husband's, and it kind of gets into like a Jerry Springer, R.I.P. to Mr. Jerry Springer, but it's going into that kind of territory, and it's just opened up a whole bunch of can of worms. And look, do I think Vrabel should lose his job? No. I mean, I doubt his players are going to care whether okay, you cheat on your wife, whoop-de-doo, so what? Who cares? As long as you coach me up, fine. Now,
I think to do another point with that, I kind of disagree with the players, because this is going to affect them in one way or another. It may not be immediate right now, but with all this negative attention and with their coach getting publicity for the wrong reasons, and I'm sure whenever they have press conferences, when they have their media days, they're going to get asked about it. So, in one way or another, this is going to affect the players. Maybe not right now, but it will.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback off what you guys are saying. Like I said, I do feel for the kids and the other family members involved in this situation. They're gonna have to deal with this. Only those people will know how to deal with this. Hopefully, they get the proper professional help if need be. But I'm with Christine on this one. This is one of the reasons why Mike Vrabel is not going to be at the draft this weekend, at least in front of the cameras. I'm sure. I'm 99.9% positive that the New England Patriots organization told him, stay away, do not make a statement, don't make a noise, don't make a sound. We'll see you in July at training camp. I'm sure it's going to be cultivated on what he's going to say. They'll assuming nothing else comes out between now and then. It'll be the first time, hopefully the last time in his case, addressing this situation. And then you move on. But like you said, Christine, if more stuff comes out between now and when they open up training camp in July, I think it's going to be a mess that I don't know that the Patriots organization will be ready to handle. Because, like you said, cheating and stuff like that goes on all the time with coaches and players. I'm not saying it's right, but that's what happens with many people. Not all, but many people in these cases. But if we have more stuff come out between now and training camp, I don't know. New England's going to be ready to handle this snowball. I think something unprecedented is a possibility between now and then. But if nothing else happens between now and training camp, I think Mike very well is safe. But if some other photos and something else that we not seeing right now comes out between now and training camp, I think this could be a snowball that that the Patriots organization cannot stop.
Yeah, and plus the other thing, as you were mentioning, that is I'm more surprised that this didn't come out when he was coaching down in Tennessee. That's what I'm kind of surprised at, that this didn't come out sooner than what it has. So it's interesting how things work out that way.
It might have been a PI thing, maybe. Like supposedly there might be some more stuff that might come out at some point that, especially
this dates back. Some of this stuff dates back to 2020.
Yep.
So
Yeah, so we might not be hearing the last of this. So we'll keep you guys updated and see what happens there. Now, going to TV, sports media news on in front of the camera, Mike Tomlin is head to NBC and Football Night in America. This is according to, of course, Andrew Marchand from the New York Daily, from The Athletic, I should say. And look, there's been rumors about this for some time now. NBC made it official. He's going to be a part of their Football Night in America coverage on Sundays. And look, we know he's got a great personality and such. So we talked about a little bit about in our group chat. So what did you have to think about this news?
I'd be interested to see how he is on camera, because when Bill Belichick joined College Game Day and did some things with the Manning brothers, and heck, even Nick Saban with College Game Day too now. It's fun to see those tougher coaches open up a little bit more. So I'd be curious to see Mike Tomlin's goofy side now.
Much respect to Tony Dungy, who was there since the beginning in some sorts of with the Sunday Night Football. He did very well, but sometimes, the changes needed. You need to bring younger people in. And I'm with Christine. I'm interested to see how Mike Tomlin does. I think he's going to do a fine job. I can actually get to watch the NBC's pregame show now. Shout out to Maria Taylor, who we love here on the show. But, I think Mike Tomlin's going to bring some more juice to that pregame show, in my opinion.
And more sports media news that kind of came out a little bit after that. But Joe Buck is closing. I think they've already made it official. He's closing on a deal to host ESPN Jeopardy. Remember, we talked about it last week that he wants to stay with ESPN for the rest of his career and he wants to do more stuff. And look, this is a good start to it. I think he can be a good host. I remember him hosting something like years ago. I forgot what it was, but he definitely can do it. So yeah, I think, especially ESPN Jeopardy, it should be interesting to see how the format is.
Right. And it's interesting to see how he'll interact with the other contestants that aren't, athletes or coaches.
It's definitely going to be something out of his realm a little bit. But like you say, he still deals with sports as ESPN Jeopardy. So Aaron Rodgers, until we know something, Joe Buck say, hey, give me that spot. I'll take it and see where it goes. Congrats to him.
All right. Anything else before we let you go, Christine?
Hey, I think we covered everything, guys.
All right, Sid.
I'm shocked no golf talk.
Well, no, you know what? Okay, you know what? Since we're talking about it real quick about the live stuff, I know you and I, Christine, we talked about it a little bit. Where do you think that stands? Do they think it sounds like Scott O'Neill, of course, who runs Live, said that they're good for the rest of this year, but after that, what do you think?
Yeah, it sounds like that's where things are heading, where the league eventually folds. And that's what when Live was first coming out, that's what some experts and reporters predicted, that this was not going to be a long-term goal. And I think right now, with different I'll just say different variables happening outside of golf. I think there's a little bit more interest in other places at the moment.
Oh, and one more thing, but one more golf. Of course, this news came out earlier, a couple of hours ago. Jim Furyk, the PGA Championship winner, is the new U.S. Ryder Cup captain. Real quick, Christine, thoughts?
I think he's a great captain. It'd be interesting to see what the team does with now an experienced, so to speak, captain and someone who has been in the league in a long time. And essentially, I think a lot of those guys in the office were kind of hoping that Tiger would have taken the position, but unfortunately he's dealing with personal matters at the moment. So it was probably a quick decision, but I'm happy about it, and we'll look forward to Ireland.
All right, this has been our weekend girl, Miss Christine the Queen Manika from KXRB, the morning host, and the new brand manager. Congrats, Christine, on that new position. I wanted to congratulate you on that new position publicly. Where can the lovely people find you on social media?
They can follow me on Twitter at @CManika_KXRB.
All right, Christine, it's been so much fun as always. Say hello to Chris and the fan for us, and we'll talk to you soon.
I will. Thanks, guys. Talk to you later.
All right.
Thanks, Christine.
Hey, Christine. Bye. All right.
Miami. I don't know. Where's your Miami?
All right. That was our girl, Christine Mack from KXRB. We're going to take our 2-2 timeout. We're going to talk some playoffs as things have got a little bit interesting in the
finish my
NBA.
makeup and get going.
NBA playoffs and also to the NHL playoffs. Some interesting things are happening there as well, and a couple of other players from the college hoops ranks have decided that they're gonna test the waters in the NBA. Lakeena, McGee, Sidney Brown, Second City Sports on Sports of Chicago. Playoff talk and more coming up right after this.
Hey, it's your boy, the Superback, Sean Sierra, and be sure to follow Sports Zone Chicago on all social media platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, and our Roku channel. You can find us at Sports Zone Chicago, and on Twitter, we are at Sports Zone Shy. Also, be sure to download our mobile app so you can take Sports Zone Chicago with you on the go.
Got it done here. Ouch! And we're gonna make sure you lit this time. Ouch! You're not gonna get me this time.
Ow, Manny!
Oops! Let's try an easy one.
Every day, we take steps to keep the people we love safe, but some health risks are easy to miss. Ticks hiding in the yard can spread germs, like the ones that cause Lyme disease. Mice searching for food can spread bacteria that makes us sick. Mosquitoes lay eggs in standing water and can spread West Nile virus and more. Cockroaches are drawn to water in the home, leaving behind allergens that can trigger asthma attacks. Common pests can threaten our health. Learn how to protect your family at pestworld.org.
Corey Maggette, and I listen to Sean and Maya on the morning show.
These sports and hashtag Friday Fun this year, locked and loaded, and we're live in living color right here on Sports Zone Chicago. Sid the Kid is me. Lakeena McGee is she. You can follow yours truly on the Twitter, X, and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, it's SidKid80. That's SIDK. That's SIDKID80.
You follow Lakeena McGee on the Twitter, X, and the IG.
This is our last break of the show for the day and for the week. So if you have any last minute questions or comments of any of the topics we discuss on today's show, this is our sports potpourri segment, and we'll discuss we'll give you the baseball schedule for the weekend coming up. We'll discuss the NBA and NHL Stanley Cup playoffs as well for this segment. So if you have any last minute questions or comments of any of the topics we could discuss thus far today, you definitely hit us up, not now, but right now, at Sports Zone Chicago's Facebook page or at Sports Zone Chicago on YouTube. Type in those questions or comments in the comment section. Lakeena will get the up on the screen for you.
Let's do the MLB schedule for this weekend and kind of get that out the way. Tonight, Detroit and Cincinnati, they start their series. Boston and Baltimore, two old AL West, I should say, rivals. AL East rivals, I should say, they start their series this week. Cleveland and Toronto, that should be an interesting series. Colorado, who's actually been playing pretty well lately, they faced the Mets, who, like I said, they did win a couple games this week. They actually did win their series against the Twins. So we'll see if they
won last night.
Yes, they did. So, but they didn't. So we'll see if they're back on track. Minnesota will try to rebound from that series loss against Tampa. Philadelphia and Atlanta, talk about teams going in different directions in the NL East. This first game will be part of the Apple TV Plus doubleheader. You got the Angels in Kansas City, Pittsburgh and Milwaukee in the NL Central. Of course, the White Sox, they host the Nationals. That should be an interesting series. We'll see if the White Sox can keep the momentum going.
All right, the rest of your weekend schedule for MLB looks like this. The Oakland Athletics will play the Texas Rangers. Brandon Schutz's Houston Astros, they'll host the New York Yankees. The Yankees coming off the sweep of the Red Sox in Fenway Park earlier this week. Lakeena's other favorite team, the Seattle Mariners, they'll face the St. Louis Cardinals. From the Show Me State, the Cubs and Dodgers, they'll be this tonight's series opener will be the second of the Apple TV regional doubleheader. That's at 9:15 tonight. And of course, the Miami Marlins will face the San Francisco Giants. Your weekend national TV schedule looks like this: Cleveland at Toronto tomorrow, Saturday at 2:07 p.m. Central Standard Time on FS1. Your Fox Saturday night baseball game of the week. Most of the country, including here in Chicago, of course, will get Cubs and Dodgers. Others will get Detroit at Cincinnati. Coverage begins at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time only on Fox. And your NBC Sunday night game of the week this week will be on Peacock. It's the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, Christine's husband's favorite team. Chris, his Angels will face the Kansas City Royals. That's this Sunday at 6:20 p.m. only on Peacock.
And that's your schedule for this weekend in MLB. As you listen to Second Seed Sports on Sports Chicago, Lakeena McGee, Steve Brown with you here as we get into the NBA playoffs. Some interesting happenings in the playoffs so far. We'll recap last night's games. We talked about this one earlier with our girl Christine Manika, KXRB, a few minutes ago. Like I said, Ayo Dosunmu had a season-high 25 points since he's joined Minnesota as the T-Wolves take a 2-1 series lead against Denver. 25 points off the bench for Ayo. Anthony Edwards, we know he's not 100%, but he's able to muster up 17 points. 20 points for Jaden McDaniels. On the flip side, for Denver, Jokic had a double-double, 27 points and 15 boards. 16 points for Jamal Murray, but that was really all they wrote on this for the starters. So, what do you think? You think that Minnesota? Yes, I know Aaron Gordon is out. I know that. Okay, fine, but do you think that T Wolves now have control of the series?
I think so, only because of not just what happened last night, but what happened this past Monday in Game 2 when Aaron Gordon got hurt. Minnesota was trailing as much as 19 points. They made a huge comeback in that second half, outperformed the Denver Nuggets in that fourth quarter. You mentioned Anthony Edwards. He's that dude, and we've been saying that for the last few years. And he was the third leading scorer during the regular season in the NBA. What Denver could not do last Saturday afternoon in Game 1 1 week ago tomorrow was to finish the job in Game 1. They did that in Game 2 in historic comeback fashion last night. They took advantage of Aaron Gordon not being on the floor. You mentioned Anthony Edwards not having his best game, but can we give some love to Julius Randle? He stepped up big last night. Increase. Hopefully, you will see that tomorrow at night in Game 4. But he stepped up and had a big game. And Jay McDaniels had a big game too with 20 points and 10 rebounds. So you're getting contributions from your other teammates, and that's what I like to see at this time of year in the playoffs with some. And let's give some love. And I think we said this on Monday, like in that Game 1 loss. But these last two games, Dante DiVincenzo, who scored 15 points last night. His scoring was down a little bit last night, but he's been playing his butt off before from games 1 through 3.
Yeah, I mean, he really has. You could probably even say that Minnesota should be up 3-0 right now, but like I said, they were able to finish the job last Saturday, and what looks like they've kind of, especially with Gordon being out, they have taken control of this series. So we'll see now. Denver needs to they play again tomorrow, so they better see if they can respond, because if they lose tomorrow night's game, it could be, like I said, could be all she wrote. So we'll see what happens there. Now another game from last night, Toronto, they take a 2-1 lead over Cleveland. Scotty Barnes had a playoff high 33 for the Raptors, and also 33 points too, is 33 points as well for RJ Barrett. Colin Murray-Boyles had 22 off the bench for Toronto. On the flip side, for Cleveland, only 15 points for Donovan Mitchell. James Harden had 18 points. There it goes. There's playoff Harden. And 15 points for Evan Mobley. And look, I think it's just one of those things where the Raptors were able to feed off that home crowd, but they were able to at least for last night were able to use that to their advantage, and they were able to win this game last night.
Yeah, the Toronto Raptors have actually played better in Game 2, unlike they did in Game 1 1 week ago tomorrow. But like you said, when you're at home, especially your role players, they tend to play better at home. You saw that last night in front of the Toronto Raptors. They shot the ball well overall, 57% overall, 61% from three. They dominated it with the points in the paint advantage with a plus 20, 60-40. And also, too, they dominated in the fast break points with the 9-to-5 advantage as well. And they also forced 22 turnovers here at the basketball. Talking about Toronto on their own, only committing 12 turnovers. So the Raptors carried that momentum, as you mentioned, with their they were very aggressive defensively, unlike the first two games of this series, and they made Cleveland pay on the other end, especially at this time of year when you play committed to play hard-nosed team defense. When you force turnovers, it makes easy shots, especially when your offense struggles early. It forces turnovers, so you get easy baskets at the other end. That's what we saw last night.
We'll see if Cleveland can bounce back. They don't play again until Sunday, so they'll be able to stew on that on that loss. They're talking about Cleveland. The Hawks take a 2-1 lead over the Knicks, 109-108. They just edged them out in that game. A big defensive stop from CJ McCollum. he had 23 points. Jalen Johnson had 24. Jonathan Kuminga, who he also made some defensive stats, he had 21 off the bench. Of course, remember, he brings a lot of that experience, playing with Golden State and winning a couple of titles there. And on the flip side, Jalen Brunson had 26. OJ Anunoby, he made a couple of big shots at 29, leading the way, but it wasn't enough. And Karl Anthony Towns had 21. Now, unfortunately, look, Josh Hart, bless him, but he only had 2 points, was 1 for 9 from the field, 0 for 4. You're not going to be able to win games that way.
Also, too, outside of Deuce McBride's, Fifth Lee didn't get anything from that New York Knicks bench as well. And Miles Bridges, you got him to the, who's looking less. He had 0 points last night as well. This all goes back to game 2, Lakeena, last Tuesday. The Atlanta Hawks were trailing as many as 15 points. They made a furious comeback and stole game 2 from the New York Knicks. I know CJ McCollum was upset with himself after the game with Jordan Cornette of NBC for missing those 2 free throws, but the Atlanta Hawks started to shoot the ball well, especially in that fourth quarter at MSG, and that's one of the reasons why they stole game 2. The Knicks were selling for jump shots. They weren't aggressive. They thought, the Times was just going to take care of it. And the Hawks knew they were coming back home to a Rockers crowd. You saw that last night. The Knicks did play well, but as you mentioned, the Atlanta Hawks made a couple of key defensive stops. You see CJ McCollum, you mentioned. We talked about him on the show, during our playoff preview show. He could be the difference with that veteran experience with this young Atlanta Hawks team. He's one of the reasons why they turned it around after they traded away Trae Young. Back in February at the trade deadline. His addition is paying off right now. Jalen Johnson has been a beast these last this whole series, but definitely these last 2 victories for the Atlanta Hawks. But on the flip side for the Knicks, if you don't get contributions outside of Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, your season could be over in a hurry. And Mike Brown could be sitting next to Russ analyzing the rest of the playoffs. So the Knicks got to turn around and be more aggressive defensively and get more contributions out of the rest of your players outside of Cat and Jalen Brunson.
We'll see if the Knicks can get it back going here. And look, there's a certain former Bulls head coach who grew up just outside Long Island. I'm just saying. So just say it. Just put it out there. SGA SGA won Clutch Player of the Year a couple of days ago, so congrats to him. After just a day after that, he led the way for OKC with 37 points as the Thunder pulled away from the Suns 120-107. 30 points for Devin Booker, who got fined by the NBA because he criticized the officiating, saying that it's more heavy leaning towards the Thunder. Well, okay, sure. No, I mean, 21 points for Jalen Green, 30 points for Dylan Brooks, but 60 points for Royce O'Neal. But look, you got. Unfortunately, the Thunder is just that good. They're the defending champs for a reason. 19 points used for Chet Holmgren and Jalen Williams, and Ajay Mitchell had 14 off the bench for the Thunder as they were able to hold them off. They took a 2-0 lead.
Yeah, even though Phoenix, and this is from Wednesday, folks, in game 2, even though the Phoenix Suns did play better in game 2, looking, they did benefit from those a couple of days off between games 1 and 2. You mentioned OKC, they're just too much for the Phoenix Suns right now. And maybe Phoenix will give one of these next 2 games since the series is now moved to the Valley of the Sun. We'll see what happens there. But that's the great David Fizdale once said, "Take that for data."
No boy. All right. Let's see here. Like we talked about the Lakers and Houston. Portland upset San Antonio after Wemby got a little banged up. 106-103. Scoot Henderson, I should say, had 31 points, a career high. Stephen Castle at 18 points. This is from Tuesday. And Philadelphia beat Boston the upset 111-97. VJ Edgecombe had 30 points, 26 points for Jaylen Brown. So now 2 series that we didn't think would be tied at 1, they're now tied at 1. In the same field on Wednesday, Detroit took care of business behind 27 for Kate Cunningham as they tied their series with Orlando.
Yeah, I'll touch on the Blazers' first series first. With Wembanyama going down, hopefully he plays in Game 3 tonight. You know, concussions are nothing to play with, so you have to be careful there. So hopefully, if you're a Spurs fan, Victor Wembanyama can get back in the lineup quickly. And as you mentioned, Portland took advantage of that. Now with this series going to Portland for Games 3 and 4, if Wemby doesn't play in one or either of those games, I think Portland could take the edge there. Now, has San Antonio played well in stretches without Wemby in this season? Yes, but if he's out long term, it's going to spell bad things for that Spurs team. So hopefully Wembanyama for their sake can get back into the lineup soon. With that 76ers series, game 2 was a shocker. Just like we talked about with the New York Knicks in that fourth quarter in game 2 last Monday. The Boston Celtics, they live and die off that 3-point shot, and they pass the ball well as any other team in the league, but their 3-point shots, especially in that fourth quarter, were not falling. Philadelphia, they were an aggressive team. They dominated inside the DJ Edgecombe. Remember, early in the year, he dropped a 30-piece in Boston, so this is nothing new to him. So he did the job. Paul George did the job. He did the job, and so Philadelphia came out with the win. But I still believe Boston can and will win this series. And with the Rockets and Lakers, we talked about with Chris earlier, the Lakers on paper did what they had to do and take care of home court. With the Rockets collapsing in game 2 the other night, even though Durant's return was very good, but your other role players like Reece Shepard and some of the other guys, they didn't step up to do the job. Unlike the other night, Alfred Shagun, I thought he went MIA in game 2. So with the Rockets coming home for games 3 and 4 this weekend, their role players had to step up and head about Kevin Durant. Amin Thompson, I'm talking to you. Alfred Shagun, I'm talking to you. Reece Shepard, same thing. So Houston's got to be ready, because when LeBron James teams have control of the series, they usually go for the kill. So for Houston, they better come out ready to play these next 2 games are at home, because if they don't, they're going to find themselves.
Yep. Speaking of the schedule, for the NBA playoffs this weekend, all 3 of these games tonight are on Prime Video. Sorry, folks. Boston and Philadelphia, pivotal game 3 there. We'll see what happens up there in Philadelphia. The aforementioned Houston Rockets and the Lakers, they host the Lakers. That's going to be at 7 o'clock on Prime. And your nightcap for tonight, a pivotal game 3. We'll see if Wemby plays San Antonio and Portland at 9:30 on Prime Video.
All right, your schedule for tomorrow, Saturday, looks like this. Game 3 of the Detroit series will shift over to Orlando. That's at high noon on NBCSN and Peacock, followed by the doubleheader on the regular NBC network at 2:30 tomorrow on Saturday in Game 3 between Phoenix and Oklahoma City. That series has moved over to the Valley of the Sun, followed by the Knicks and the Hawks. Game 3 of that series, Game 4, I should say, of that series. That's at 5 o'clock tomorrow on NBC. And the nightcap on ABC will have Game 4 between Denver and Minnesota. Of course, Minnesota leads that best of 7 series, 2 games to 1. That's at 7:30 p.m. tomorrow on ABC. And the inside the NBA crew will have your pregame and postgame shows in between Game 4.
All right, your Sunday matchup looks like this. At high noon, you got Cleveland and Toronto. We'll see where the series is. We'll see if Cleveland can tie the series. This is Game 4. Game 4, we'll see what the series is by this point. A very early start for the folks over there in Portland. This is about like 12:30 their time. So a very early start for this one, but I guess it's a Sunday, so I guess it can work. We'll see how this goes. That's going to be on ES. Both these games are going to be on ESPN. Now, your nightcap doubleheader will be on NBC. It's streaming on Peacock. You got Boston and Philadelphia in Game 4, as well as the Lakers and the Rockets in Game 4 as well after that. So it'll be interesting to see if, especially in the case of the Lakers and Rockets series, we'll see if the Rockets are going to try to tie the series, or could the Lakers could be clinching it. We'll see what happens there. But that is your schedule for this weekend in the NBA playoffs.
All right, you're listening to Second City Sports on Sports Zone Chicago. See Lakeena here with you. Winding down today's program, but we still have a few minutes left to kick it with you guys. Let's shift over to us, our off and running. And things are getting very interesting in both the East and the West. We'll start with last night's results. The Buffalo Sabres defeated the Boston Bruins on the road by the score of 3-1 to take a 2-1 series lead in that Eastern Conference first round series. Lakeena's Carolina Hurricanes, they have a commanding 3-0 series lead after beating the Ottawa Senators in a tough 2-1 contest last night in Game 3. And the Colorado Avalanche are one game away from sending the LA Kings home for the summer. They defeated the LA Kings in La La Land by the score of 4-2. Colorado leads that best of 7 series 3-0.
Yeah, just like I said, breaking it down real quick. Like I said, the Hurricanes, like we said, that the Hurricanes would probably sweep the Senators, and it looks like so far they've done that. Colorado, they've looked good too. We knew that they would probably sweep them as well. So not surprised. Buffalo, they've looked really good, especially in that Game 3 in Boston. Alan Tuck was really good yesterday. Last night. So we'll see if Buffalo took control of the series. Now, as far as the Wednesday's games, you got Anaheim. If you took the over on this one, 6-4, Anaheim beat Edmonton. Now their series is tied at 1 apiece. Dallas behind a game winner in double overtime. They take a 2-1 lead over Minnesota, and the Flyers take a 3-0 lead of 5-2. Against state rival Pittsburgh, and so far we kind of figured that this would happen. So I don't think anybody's really surprised by this one.
Although Pittsburgh would get at least one game, maybe they will in Game 4, and Philadelphia take care of them back in Pittsburgh. But the Stars, while they're going back and forth, I told you I like Minnesota in this series. I like their goaltending just a little bit better, but you mentioned Dallas found a way to win Game 3 in extra session the other night. So I think that series is going to go 7. You'll love to see it if you're a hockey fan. Shout out Coach Joel Quenneville. After being humbled in Game 1, they came out on fire, beating Edmonton on the road in Game 2, 6-4. As we say all the time, looking at minus football and college basketball. The series doesn't start until the road team wins. You saw that with the Buffalo Boston, the Ducks, in the Oilers. So going back to the pond for the games 3 and 4, it's definitely going to be high intensity, and you may see some maybe fisticuffs here and there, because Edmonton, they're
I think everybody. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Anaheim and Edmonton, if you want to pick a series that you may see some players fighting, look, they don't like each other. They're in the same division in the Western Conference. So unfortunately, this doesn't surprise me in the least. So it's good. Like I said, I think that's going to be an interesting series, especially with a pivotal Game 3 coming up tonight. We'll talk about that in a second here. But I kind of feel like Colorado and Carolina, I mean, they're taking care of business, so we don't have to really worry too much about them for right now. Some of these other series, same thing probably with Philadelphia. Rick Tocchet, of course, he has his guys playing very well right now. Minnesota is going to be interesting. We'll see if they can tie their series, because they had a couple of chances to end that game in overtime. They just couldn't do it. So the Canadiens and Tampa, that should be a good one. That'll be tonight on all these games are on the Turner Networks. This is the Game 3 of this one with the Lightning and the Canadiens on TNT, True TV, and streaming on HBO Max at 6 o'clock. Vegas and Utah, they're tied at 1. We'll see if this should be interesting. To see a pivotal Game 3 there. They'll be on TBS, HBO Max. And Edmonton and Anaheim, speaking of TNT, True TV, and HBO Max, that'll be the nightcap of that game on TNT. And I think Wayne Gretzky, look, he has 4 of these, I should say. So he kind of said it best, where it's going to be interesting to see with these two teams, especially with the Edmonton and Anaheim. I think that's going to be the key here, to see who's going to fight. So I think that's going to be the next big bet here.
Yeah. Your schedule for tomorrow looks like this. Game 4 between the Senators and the Hurricanes will take place at 2 o'clock on TBS. That's from Canada in Ottawa. followed by the Stars and Wild in game 4 of that series. That's at 4:30 tomorrow on TBS, True TV, and HBO Max. Your primetime game on TBS tomorrow. It'll be game 4 between the Flyers in Philadelphia against the Pittsburgh Penguins. Philadelphia leads that best of series 7 series, 3-0. That's your schedule for Saturday.
All right, for Sunday, game four, between Buffalo and Boston. We'll see how that series goes. If Boston can tie this series, that game will be on TNT, True TV, and streaming on HBO Max at 1. At 3:30 on TNT, True TV, and streaming on HBO Max. We'll see if the Avs can wrap up the series against the Kings at 3:30. All right, Montreal and host Tampa. That's game 4. That'll be on ESPN. And the nightcap between Edmonton and Anaheim. That game will also be on ESPN as well. After that, a doubleheader there as well. So that's just scheduled for this weekend in the Stanley Cup Playoffs.
You're listening to Second City Sports on Sports All Chicago. See Lakeena here with you. We have just a couple minutes left, and let's go back to baseball. Lakeena, remember the Chicago White Sox the last couple of years did Friday night all access to having mics on their coaches and players and managers. Where they're going to do it again this year. So CHSN announced the other day that they'll have a couple of new programs this year. The Friday Night Access will return with new fan cam features if you download the CHSN app, but they're going to have players and coaches mic'd up again for all Friday night hosts again this year, so be on the lookout for that. Top Prospect Season 2 will premiere on Sunday after the Washington White Sox matchup. And also, it'll be the debut this Sunday will be the debut of the CHSN Kids Day broadcast. And so be on the lookout for that. And we'll definitely have a review for you for all those, for at least for the kids program on Monday. So CHSN is trying to bring some new fans in. I know the White Sox have been playing well over the last week or so. Over the good vibes will continue to roll with the play on the field, but off the field with the broadcast, hopefully that can improve as well.
Yeah, it should be a fun one. I'll have to watch the clips. Like I said, I don't get CHSN, unfortunately. I got YouTube TV, and of course they don't believe in regional sports, so just got to get the clips on YouTube. Now, a couple of notes here on the basketball front. Of course, this is the last day where guys can officially declare for the draft. Well, Michigan's Morez Johnson. Now, he's declared for the NBA draft, but he is going to keep his eligibility, so he's going to test the waters, go to the draft combine, and we'll see if he can maybe he goes back to the Dusty Day in Michigan or else he stays in the draft. We'll see. But even still, though, they do get a big pickup here with the transfer portal. 7'2" center Mustafa Thiam from Cincy. He's committed to play for Michigan. Of course, he averaged about 32 points a game. And also just over 7 rebounds, a couple of blocks. And for Cincinnati, of course, they just missed making the tournament. And we knew he was going to be a very sought-after get for transfer portal, and Dusty May got him. So, like I said, even if Ada Mara leaves, you got somebody there who's a very productive big guy that can shoot from mid-distance and also block as well.
Yeah, we talk about those two-way players, so that's what the basketball is today, but both on the college and on the NBA level. And I'll bring this back home to Illinois one more time with Brad Underwood starting the trend of bringing European guys that played at least a couple of years of pro basketball overseas, bringing them over to play college basketball. You saw what happened to them this past season, them reaching the Final Four. Will other coaches start to adopt that philosophy? Yeah, if it works for them, I think it's going to keep on going and growing as well. So we have to watch out for that trend as well.
Yep. So like I said, I mean, we'll see what happens. Like I said, this is the last day for guys to declare. So we'll see what guys at Braden Berries, and I know Cam Boozer. I think the expectation that he's going to leave. So, but again, you never know. There would have been a couple of guys so far that thought they were going to leave, but they came back. So I'm sure we'll get an announcement from those guys in the next hour or so. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if like some guys decide to stay or go. Anything else before we disperse, Sid? Got everything.
No, I'm ready to enjoy this beautiful weekend in Chicago, and yours surely will be on the South Side this weekend. And yours surely will experience the Noah Schultz experience. Hopefully, it'll be a good one for yours surely for the first time. He'll pitch tomorrow, so as we always say, tickets are available. You know where to go get them. We don't have to announce it here. You know where to go get them. Tomorrow will be at 3:10 p.m. on the South Side, so yours surely is going to be there experiencing the Noah Schultz experience for the first time live and in person. So
should be a lot of fun. Hopefully, the White Sox can keep their momentum. And also some big tennis news that just came across. Carlos Alcaraz, the defending French Open champion, he's suffered a wrist injury, and he posted on this that he will not defend his title. Suffered an injury on his right wrist, I should say. And unfortunately, he injured this at the Barcelona Open a few weeks ago, and it's been bothering him ever since. And unfortunately, we won't get a potential Alcaraz Sinner rematch. So
yeah,
tough.
That's sad. But hopefully, yeah.
Go finish up. Finish your thought.
All right, take us home.
You follow Lakeena McGee on the Twitter, Lakeena on the IG.
You can follow yours truly, Sidney Brown, on the Twitter X and the IG is CK80. Once again, it's CK80. That's SIDKID80. That's SIDKID80. Be sure to download that Sports Zone Chicago app wherever you get your apps. Please follow Sports Zone Chicago. Advance for your support.
Like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends.
Be sure to catch Second City Sports live and in living color every Monday, every Friday from 12 p.m. to one more again, as the kids would say. Be sure to catch Second City Sports live and in living color every Monday, every Friday from 12:15 to 2:15 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on Sports Zone Chicago.
And of course, excuse me, if you miss any of our interviews, if you miss any of our segments, don't worry. You can catch Sports Chicago's anytime, anywhere on the Sports Chicago's Facebook and YouTube pages. Of course, you can catch replays of our show, Sean Sierra Sports, the Smoke Fellas, and so much of the other great content we have here. You can catch the replays anytime, anywhere on the Sports Chicago's YouTube channels.
And you know we will provide.
Enjoy the rest of the NFL draft tonight and tomorrow. Of course, the NHL and NBA playoffs, baseball, soccer, all the other good stuff. So just be safe out there, folks. For Sid, I'm Lakeena with Second City Sports on Sports Chicago. We'll see you guys next week.
Go Sox! Holla!